So welcome back everyone to another incredible episode of Chat with Dan here. For today on the show, what can I say? We are already having the perfect way to start up an epic badass Tuesday because we have the incredible, the amazing, the badass, the superstar, the legendary, the one and only, and perhaps a superhero. Let's find out why. Leigha, how are you today?
I'm good, Dan. How you doing?
I mean, fantastic. I mean, what better way to have an incredible, super badass Tuesday than to be chatting with someone as badass as you? You know what I mean?
Yes, I agree. Thank you. And you also. You are a very badass dude.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, follow. It helps a lot. But also, on the description below, you're going to find all of Leigha's social media. Let's follow her. Let's find out why she's super badass. We're on a mission right now, right? And without further ado, let's jump in. So, I want to start this whole conversation by throwing out the very first question, which is, what was the moment that hit you? You know what? This is it. This is gonna be my passion from now on. This is where my journey begins.
Dan, I've been asked that before. I feel like that's a question that comes up a lot as an actor, and it's a hard question for me to answer. I feel like I truly didn't have a moment. I started doing theater when I was a kid with my siblings, and it was always something I just clicked with and loved. I loved acting. I loved going to rehearsal and showing up and playing and having fun. And I just never looked back, really. I just continued to pursue it pretty much my entire life and never stopped. So I guess maybe when I was a kid, just being in the rehearsal room made me go, oh, this is something I want to do. But I never had the moment where it was like, oh, I can do this as a career. I just somehow always knew that it was what I was going to end up doing. So,
Okay,
yeah.
there you go. And once you decided this is gonna be my passion from now on, time passed. But tell me, what were some of those first, let's say challenges, right, that you encounter when you were making your first steps as a pro career, let's say?
Okay, well, some of the challenges early on, I mean, I went to a couple of different drama schools, so I studied quite a lot early on. But then jumping into a professional career, it was, how do you transition from being a student? Because, as an actor, you're always a student of the world. You're constantly wanting to grow and learn. But how do I go from sort of the more student mindset to the professional mindset? And I think, learning how to present me as a product and that I am the instrument with which you want to cast and work with was a challenge for me early on, because I was used to sort of wanting to disappear into roles and being, more interested in the play of the game. But then, there's a whole business side to it that is an entirely different skill set. So having to transition from the student life to the professional life became an interesting journey for me, I guess I could say.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think you need to have both in order to be a successful actor. You need to know how to work the business side of things, but also stay true to who you are and never give up the fun of it in the play.
Totally. I've discovered that the whole business thing to it is something that regardless if you want to pursue music, acting, that at the end is something that you really need to work on because you might be super talented, right? But at the end, if you don't work the business side, you're not going to connect. You know what I mean? So yeah, I get it that it's kind of important for you to learn how to. And I mean, at the end, I have discovered that there is no a specific rule or manual on how to work the business side, right? You need to kind of be working on yourself, So
And they say do something every day for your craft. You can't always have an audition or you can't always have a project going on, but there's something you can do that you can use to further your career and your stamina. So having to do a practice every day, I feel is good too.
totally. Okay. Okay. And do you remember that feeling of your very first audition? Tell me, was it terrifying, exciting, or you know what, a complete disaster?
Um, okay, so I did a production. So my community theater, I'm from Greensboro, North Carolina, and every year this production's still going on. They do a big community production of The Wizard of Oz. And they cast 100 kids in it to play Munchkins, and it's this big deal in the community. So that was the first play I ever did, and I did that with my siblings, and I did that for 4 years. Now, I gotta be honest, I don't remember those auditions. I was really quite young. I was 6 or 7, I think, when I started. But the first memorable audition I had was my first professional gig. It was a touring production for this project called Theater in the Schools, which was in conjunction with the community theater. And I would have gotten paid, which was very exciting at the time. I was 10 when I auditioned for that. And it would have been like I got to miss school and travel to all of these different schools, and the show was talking about our dreams. And I just remember seeing an audition notice for it and being like, I want to do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do it. And at the time, I was trying to convince my mom to take me to the audition, and she didn't want to take me, not because she didn't believe in me, but, as a parent, I think she was scared of the rejection or scared that I, wouldn't get in and I would be heartbroken and we would have to deal with that. And so she didn't really want to take me at first, but I was like, "No, Mom, you're taking me to this audition and I'm doing it." And I remember going in the room and singing my song and just feeling like, oh, I really like this. This is fun. And the show was directed by the late Pauline Caberta, who in that community and otherwise in the theater was definitely a theater mom to so many and just an immense, immense talent in her own right. And she really took me under her wing in that production. I got cast and I felt like she sort of she helped me guide my like initial theater journey and actor journey. And I just remember being like, wow, this is the best. I get to like do what I love every day. And I just remember not being nervous and just really feeling like this was fun and I got to like do what I loved in the room. And and she told me, she was like, I put a star next to your name, which I think for her meant like that was a good kid and that's someone I want in the show. And I got to work with a lot of adults in that production and it just made me feel like, oh, this I am a professional even at 10. I can hold my own and sing a duet with this adult and I can really like hold my own. So yeah, that was like my first real big moment where I got paid to do theater. So that was fun.
And do you still remember what you did with that very first paycheck? You know?
Oh gosh, I think I was told that I had to put it in the bank.
Oh,
If I remember correctly, it was a whopping $250. So, for a 10-year-old, that's big money. I could retire with that. So so I don't remember, but I think it went into a bank account.
totally. That's badass. I start to discover why you're badass. You're giving me those vibes. I like it.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate
Epic,
it. A
epic,
kid
epic.
back going on.
There you go. There you go. And tell me, the whole auditioning, well, the whole rejection thing, can hit hard. So during this whole downtime, right, between auditions and you audition yourself, not a callback, you get rejected. How you stay creative? How you continue this kind of a wheel spinning when you're not getting too much auditions, let's say.
Yeah. I think I could start with saying that a lot of actors, I think, fear. This is a little bit of a tangent, but a lot of actors fear auditioning, or they think they have something to prove to the casting director or to the director that you want me for the job. But really, so much of what we do is auditioning and learning that that is the work, the initial work that you do. It's almost as if you have the job. The job is the audition. You don't have to worry about getting the job. It's just like going in the room and being able to like do a piece of work that day is super important. So I think like learning to embrace the audition process, callbacks and rejection, all of it in one, is knowing like, hey, I got to show up and I got to work today. Now, to answer your question, there are often times where you don't have auditions going on. For me, I think just like being able to connect with art in general, going to see movies, watching TV, going to the museums. I live in New York now, so I'm very fortunate to have a lot of awesome art going around like all in the space all the time. So yeah, going to museums, going to see gallery shows, like just trying to connect with the community at large, I feel like is super important to me. And then being able to do that with friends and family and debating things with each other. Um, Love reading a good book and even just like hanging out with friends. I don't know. I find that like just being able to like be in the space with people you love is super enriching. I also write. I've really started to embrace my writing journey. I used to write poetry a lot as a kid, and I still do, but I've started to really write screenplays now. So I've been working on a couple features that I'm excited about. And yeah, I find that like when I don't have something else to do, I just get on my computer or on my notepad and I start making outlines and notes and just yeah, that helps me stay creative, I think.
Hey, respect. I like it. You
Thank you.
know, that's cool. And it's so interesting, right? That whenever on those times that you are either, hanging out with friends or like perhaps like something outside of it,
Mhm.
usually inspiration can hit you the most in the most random ways possible. That's why I always keep saying that if you feel like, you know what, maybe I should take a break, take it like immediately, go for it, because at the end, your whole body is the instrument to it. And if you feel like a little bit of burnout going on, doesn't make any sense to kind of push yourself to it, because you're not gonna be able to make it, and second, it's gonna look desperate. And let's be honest, nobody likes, you know,
Yeah.
someone who is kind of desperate to
Nobody
it.
likes looking at
Nobody.
it, nobody wants to feel that way, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's important for you to kind of take a little bit of a break going on, and the fact, that you, for example, go to see art, go with your friends, go to see the movies, though, you're still creative, and at the same time, you're open yourself the possibility to get inspired anywhere. So I think that's pretty cool.
Thanks. Yeah, I also find like, we're so inundated with media all the time that like the minute I distance myself from my screens and just take some time to like be in the world, I find I'm often the most creative because a lot of creativity is birthed out of boredom, right? That like we're the minute you actually have to sit with yourself and your thoughts and not just, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love social media just like the next person. I'm scrolling all the time. I love my memes and my videos, I'm but also when you allow yourself to just sort of be, you find thoughts and creative inspiration that you may have never given yourself the time to process. So, a
Totally.
little
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. I like it. It's all about finding your thing here, and at the end, um, having the chance to communicate with yourself and being able to use that energy to create something. I think that's the way, and it also shows us how much as humans we kind of crave for this necessity of connection with art, and it's amazing because it can open the door for something that you might didn't expect, or to something new that will connect to the next thing, and so on, so on, so on, so it's so I always says that it's cool to open yourself up the possibility to stay creative, but at the same time don't push it, just let it flow, and it will happen. I think we all been there, that when you less expect something connects in your brain, and you're like, wait a minute, I can do this, or I can create this, or like, what if I started something like this, and from that, you can do something. So
it allows us to sort of like constantly generate if we give ourselves the space to breathe.
totally, totally. And tell me, are there like kind of specific films or TV shows or perhaps songs that usually inspire you the most, that you sometimes will kind of go there when you feel like I need something to push me to create something?
Yeah, I really like all different kinds of music, but I find I really enjoy, especially growing up, I would listen to like instrumental music a lot, and classical music, but I got on this kick for a long time where I would just listen to solo piano art songs that like composers had written. And I find that like, yeah, music is a great inspiration for me. Also just other people's performances a lot. I try to I'm challenging myself this year to watch at least a new movie every week and constantly be like watching a new TV show. So trying to just like go, wow, I really loved the way that was shot, or like that moment was super beautiful. Like you can find inspiration anywhere, I think. I don't know if you've watched it, but I just watched it's the talk of the town right now, but I just watched Adolescence, the new show on Netflix.
I've heard of
Uh,
it. I haven't watched it, but I have heard of
it's
it.
great if you get the chance to watch it, but the whole thing is shot in one continue each episode is 4 episodes and it's shot in one continuous take. Like no tricks of the camera, no breaks. It's their hour-long episodes shot in one take. And just the mastery of that and watching the collaboration it must have taken to achieve that sort of format was incredible. And all of the actors are fantastic. So like it just made me go, wow, what if I could write something like that or be in something like that? I would cherish that opportunity. So, just trying to expose myself to different things all the time, I feel like is ultimately the best inspiration.
Totally. Wow, I didn't know that they actually took like a whole one take to it. That's pretty cool.
It's amazing, dude. Like I was reading about it that apparently they took 3 weeks to film each episode. And the first week would be all rehearsal and like planning out how the camera would move in those certain shots and like where each piece would take place. And then the second week was implementing all the actors and working like 5 pages at a time or so to build the episode along. And then the last week was all different takes. So I think they were aiming for 10 takes per episode and sometimes went over that, but they would just have to choose for better or for worse. And I think for better, they would have to choose one shot that they did, one specific take. So I just think that that's such an amazing way to make a TV show and really allows everyone to sort of like, it almost feels more like you're watching a play in real time and like site specific play. But yeah, it's a super incredible piece of work. Like when you have a bunch of cutaways, not that I'm not a fan of editing, but when you have these breaks in the scene and you're changing angles and whatnot, it lets the audience off the hook a little bit. Oh, I can go check my phone in this moment. I can go to the bathroom or some, whatever. But having it just be one continuous line of action, it really kind of like guilts you in, or guilt's maybe not the right word, but it draws you in. It makes you go like, I can't look away from this because you're not subconsciously giving me an opportunity to do so, which I just think is amazing. One of my favorite films is also 1917, the Sam Mendes film. It's a
Mm-hmm.
War One epic, which is about, peace and trying to stop an act of war from happening. But it's also a lot of really long takes, like 6, 7 minute shots. And I think like, yeah, it just sort of makes you go like, even though this is an horrific thing that I'm looking at and that I'm watching young men die and whatnot, it's like you can't, it grips you to not part from the experience, I guess.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love it. Epic, epic. And tell me, once you have a character, how you
Mhm.
prepare it. Is it more like a putting on a mask for you, or perhaps like peeling back layers of yourself at the same time?
I would say it's probably more of the latter, that I think as an actor, your main job is to be an observer and a listener. And instead of trying to like put on a persona that's not yourself, the scariest thing you can do is really listen with honesty and try and connect to the circumstances and the character, even if they're as far away from you as humanly possible. Um, you really want to make sure that you're able to sort of show that honesty in your eyes and in your heart. And I think like, yeah, peeling back the layers of myself to find like, okay, what are my ways in here would be how I usually approach things, I would say. Um, yeah, from a place of honesty, I would hope.
Hmm. And is there like a specific ritual, or like what is your thing? Let's say right you're about to perform, go for it. Is there like a thing going on there before jumping in?
Um, I would say it's different for each project. I don't think I have any kind of like set rituals. For the most part, though, I think what's most important for me when I'm about to, especially mostly professionally, growing up, I did a lot of theater, which it's all the same fundamentals, but there are different approaches as to how you have to go about doing a piece of theater versus a piece of film or something on camera. But I think for me, working mostly in film professionally, you're shooting things constantly out of order and in different locations, et cetera, et cetera. But I would say like knowing where I'm coming from is very important physically, but also just like emotionally, mentally, like where is the character at in the journey? And then just really taking like a good breath and going like I'm going to connect with this other person is the fundamentals, I guess, for me when I jump into any scene. And like let's play off of what you're giving me and not my ideas of where it should go.
Okay. And how you break character.
That is also something that's very different actor to actor, and I completely respect anyone else's process with that. For me, it depends on the scene that I'm working on, but for the most part, I actually try to like leave work at work and just, go home, talk to my husband on the phone if I'm on location somewhere, or come home and like decompress, go to the bar and have a drink with some friends. I think like just connecting to who you are is an easy way out. And some people I know like to stay in things more, but I also find even when I'm on a set or on a job, being able to like talk to the crew or talk to my fellow castmates and just like keep things as light and easy as possible, especially when you're working on something dark, that that helps everyone's morale and it helps my morale to stay level-headed and even-keeled. And then when I need to take the time I need to take for any given scene, I'll just remove myself from those situations and give myself that time. But for the most part, I feel like I use other people in that way because I like getting to know and talk to other people. So I feel like just being able to like break the moment and talk about what we're going to have for lunch, or what project do you have coming up next, or what's your dog's names, and like you just kind of get to know people in a sense that often helps me just kind of stay level on any given job.
There you go. Okay. And how do you protect your own emotions when you're constantly digging into someone else's pain or trauma on set, let's say?
I think ultimately like having respect for your fellow actors, wanting to make them feel as comfortable as possible is a huge part of that for me. If somebody needs me to stay in it with them, I will. But I think knowing that like this is pretend at a certain point, and this is like the circumstances are real when you're living them in the moment. But then when that moment's done, you're able to like collect yourself and go, okay, that's not who I actually am in my real life. And that I'm able to separate that. I think it just depends on the job, I guess I would say. But for the most part, I think I'm pretty good at just going like, okay, I will take the circumstances and the experience and dive into it as fully as I can in the moments that I need to and think about it. And then when I get to come out of that, I just get to like put that aside and go, that lives with that character and it doesn't live with me as a person every day.
Hmm. Okay. I like it. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. I mean, yeah, it's badass. I'm still discovering. Pretty amazing. And the whole acting world can be a huge roller coaster, right? With ups and downs, like all of that. So how do you stay grounded when everything just feels chaotic?
I think reminding myself that I have good people in my life that I can turn to when I'm feeling down. My husband's also an actor, but we are constantly in support of each other and building each other up. He's my number one supporter. So being able to, and I'm his, and being able to like have that sort of like blanket of love that's always there for me. Getting to talk to my family, whom none of them are really involved in the arts, is a nice way to stay grounded too. That there are things when I'm worried about my career or my artistry, that there are other great things that are of importance in the world. I think just trying to balance that, like as much as this does matter and it is important and it is what I want to do, that there are so many elements to life that are equally as important. And being there for family and having them be there for me and friends, I feel like is the best way to stay grounded, to remind yourself that there are other things in life that hold equal weight, if not more weight in the world.
There you go. I mean, it's at the end, it's important for you to have like your zone to regroup. You know what I mean? To kind of take a break, be like, okay, I need the energy back, and then okay, let's move forward. It's part of it. So yeah, I like it.
And I mean, I love other people too, but I also do find like my introverted times are really important for me. Like just having a day, we had a rainy day the other day and I didn't leave my apartment. And like that, having that time to just be like cozy and be at home and read a book and eat something I like that, those kinds of like simple pleasures are also very important and conserving energy to me.
And tell me, what do you think that would be one of the biggest misconceptions about actors in general?
Maybe this applies more specifically to working on camera, but it also applies to being an actor as a whole. I think that people should absolutely have their opinions about whatever piece of art they're watching, but I would say like take every experience with a grain of salt and know that there's a lot that goes into making something, and that ultimately, at least for an actor, it's so fascinating to play with this idea, but everything you do on camera that's recorded is an option for the editor to work with and for the director to work with. And you have to be brave enough to make risks and to take risks and to, want to give multiple versions of a scene or really play something as fully as possible or take direction and do it differently. And that your performance is often outside of your control in that way. Um, so that, I feel like I used to be very, very judgmental about how I would watch actors' performances. And then the more I experience different roles and different jobs and meet different actors, it's like, a lot of what you do is not at your own choice. It's like you're actually giving a variety of choices and you have to put your trust in other people to to make the thing come to life in a different way. So I guess maybe like learning that like it is an extremely collaborative process and that you have to give credence to that, or you have to understand that not every choice is what you would have intended it to be, and that every performance is crafted by multiple people, I guess.
Fair enough. I'll take it. I mean, at the end, at the end, it's a job, right? So,
Hmm. Exactly.
you know what
And
I mean?
and you want to be able to feel the freedom to make risks and to jump off the ledge and go like where is this going to go? But that when you're watching something, it isn't just the experience of one person that you're watching, I guess is more of what I mean, is that like you're watching a collective process of decision making amongst a large group, even for the theater on some level too. All the
Fair enough.
designer, the director, everyone that goes into the process of making something are equally important. And it's not just the actor and their journey, I guess. Art is subjective in that way, in a beautiful way, that you everyone has a different way of connecting and finding their way into any given project you're watching or performing in or whatnot. But it's so fun to get to know like the inside workings of people's brains in that way. And that's why it's always the best to like go out to dinner with friends after you see a movie and talk about it, and do that in-person connecting where we discuss what we liked and what we didn't like and how it affected you. But yeah, everyone sees it differently, which is part of the fun, I think, of being an artist, but also part of the fun of being a human is getting to know how we
Totally.
all think differently.
Yeah, yeah. And when people watch your work years from now, what's the one thing you hope they feel or remember about you?
I would hope that, I have a long career that people may look back on and go, that's a working actor. That's someone who I may not ever be a household name or, be on the cover of magazines or who knows, but that I show up and I do a consistent, great job, and that I had a long career of getting to work on a vast amount of projects, like just a bunch of different things, and that like in my experience, I get to learn and grow from every single one of them. But I would love to be thought of as a working actor and as a hustler and as a consistently good actor.
Fair enough. I'll take it. I'll take it. And before moving into our last two questions, let's jump into my new section, which is speed up questions, yes or no.
Okay,
Super simple, right? So basically, what is going to happen now is that I will ask you 10 quick questions. You can say yes, no, or pass if you want. That's up to you. And that's it basically.
great. I'm in. I don't get any qualifiers. I just yes, no, or pass.
Yes, no, or pass if you want.
Ah,
Yeah.
so fun. Okay, ready.
Have you ever used acting as free therapy?
No.
Would you play a role so intense that you need a vacation afterward?
Yes.
Would you ever relate it more to a villain than the lead?
Yes.
Have you ever walked off set and questioned your entire life?
Oh, yes.
Have you ever Googled how to cry on command?
No.
Do you ever rewatch your old scenes and cringe just a little bit?
Pass?
Have you ever kept playing the character long after the shoot was over?
No.
Would you say yes to a role just because the wardrobe is epic?
Yes.
Have you ever caught yourself acting in real life just to avoid a situation?
Yes.
And do you wonder if your characters would be friends with the real you?
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
That was fun.
Epic. All right. And
Like
what
not
motivates
being
you?
able to comment on them. I'm just like I have to answer yes or no.
Easy, easy, right? And like what motivates you? We all have those days that basically we just want to quit. It's inevitable, happens to all of us. So how you stay motivated on a day that perhaps, yeah, let's say you're not doing so hot, let's say.
Hmm. I think I often find motivation from kind of like what we were talking about before, from like places I least expect it. I love getting into random conversations with strangers on, out in public. I mean, I live in New York, so there's a lot of opportunity for that. But I think like finding what makes someone else tick or like what's their sort of like little gripe in the day, it honestly does motivate me. It makes me go, that's an experience I've never had before. That's something I never even knew about or thought to care about, and sort of gives me a new key into life and to go, wow, there's as many experiences of the world as there are people. And I think that just sort of reinvigorates my want to investigate those stories. So I would say random conversations with strangers.
That's the best, right? You know what I mean?
Right. For sure. For sure.
Cool. Cool. I like it. And you know what? My last question. So we
Yes.
can all enjoy and relax after an epic chat here. So here we go. What do you think that could be the best title for this episode?
I mean, is Badass Tuesday already a theme?
Not that I recall. No, I think no one has.
I feel like that's been a theme in our chat, so I guess I'd have to go with Badass Tuesday. Or
Badass Tuesday?
two badasses chat on a Tuesday. Maybe Badass Tuesday's a little bit
Badass
more.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Sounds like a plan. Sounds like a franchise to me already. Who knows? You know. And I mean, at the end, what can I say? It's epic what you do. I love it. The fact that you are doing something that makes you happy. We all know that. Yeah, it's sure. It sounds cliche, whatever, but we all know that it's a pain in the butt. And it can question you. A lot of times, if you should continue or not, but you're making it happen. You're showing out there that it is possible. I think that is pretty cool because you're not also creating cool characters for us to see. You're also showing that everything's possible. You are somehow sending this positive message to it between the lines, and that's epic and that's badass. And now I discover why you're super badass. So, mission
Thank you.
accomplished.
I appreciate all of that. And thank you so much for this chat. It's been awesome.
There you go. So I want to thank you so much for making this happen. I do want to thank also those who stayed the whole episode. Let us know what you think in the comments below, but also on the description below. By this point, come on, you should know why Leigha is super badass. Come on. So let's follow her. Let's make her viral. Hashtag Team Leigha. And again, thank you for making this happen. Keep shining out there. Keep rocking. Keep kicking ass. Keep doing what you do. And I'll be seeing you in the next one.
Bye, everybody.
All right.